First off, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who checked out any one of the videos that I made yesterday. I made 17 videos in the span of around 30 hours from the start of day 1 of the NHL Entry Draft up until roughly the end of day 2 of the draft. So I made a whole bunch of videos. I was very, very greatly enamored by the positive response, but there was a little bit of a meltdown, let's just say, of Vancouver Canucks fans that I saw everywhere, not just on my video, and I say video because I'm really talking about only one video, and the rest of social media too. Let's talk a little bit more about the J.T. Miller trade, because this has taken the community by storm, and I know that I was one of the only people online, virtually speaking, that actually liked it. I liked the trade, and I understand that some of my analysis of the trade was not necessarily the most accurate in terms of the reasoning and the definitions and stuff. I'm not talking about the specific trade details, but I'm talking about what I had to say personally about the trade. Because what I said yesterday in my video was talking about, oh yeah, we're weaponizing the cap space, we're taking on a contract that the Tampa Bay Lightning couldn't afford to keep, and we had to give up a price to get a price because J.T. Miller is a good player. A big reception in my comments was very negative towards that specific idea, and overall I saw Twitter was absolutely set ablaze. People were very pissed off that we gave up a first-round pick in the draft, and in order to get a player like that, a lot of Canucks fans felt it was unnecessary to add picks. And for the most part, people weren't trashing on Miller. A lot of the perspectives that I saw were specifically talking about how it's not about the player, it's about the trade. The perspective that I mostly saw was that J.T. Miller is a good player. Sure, he's not elite, but he's a good player. It's the trade itself that people have a problem with. And I know I was one of the only people right off the bat who was okay with the trade itself. Miller as a player, yeah, he's a great player. He can get up to 50 points in a year. He was used in a limited role with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was really great with the New York Rangers, and coming over to Vancouver with more playing time than he did with the Lightning, he should be able to get himself upwards of 60 plus points. And the bottom line here is that it's a good player. But the return that we had to give up, it was a hefty price to pay. Marek Mazanec is an extra goalie we got. The third-round pick was 71 this year, and there were a lot of really good players taken around that pick. Patrick Pistola comes to mind, but people mostly had a problem with the first-round pick, either in 2020 or 2021, depending on if we make the playoffs in 2020. And I understand it, for sure. I definitely understand it. I understand why people are upset. Hey, a first-round pick is very valuable. Look at the players that we can get in the first round. We're giving up essentially a chance at getting another Besser, Pettersson, or a Hughes with this pick. Is J.T. Miller really that, and more? And I specifically said, hey man, if you want to get a price, like a guy like J.T. Miller, you have to give up a price. And to me, I didn't necessarily see the poor decision-making that other people seem to have seen. And virtually speaking, considering all circumstances, I can agree, yes, okay, maybe it is an overpayment. Tampa Bay was in a cap crunch. Tampa Bay needed to get rid of this contract, so if they give up this contract and get a first in return, then that's a win for them, right? And I saw a lot of other people saying, how could J.T. Miller get a first when P.K. Subban couldn't get a first? And that's not fair, in my opinion. Subban is much older. He's at a $9 million cap hit, and he's already declining. That's not something that I believe is fair to compare with J.T. Miller, who's only 2 years older than Bo Horvat, who's got a good two-way presence, who can play all forward positions, and who can still produce at a 60-point pace if he plays the right ice time and with the right line mates. Not to mention the 4 years left at $5.25 million, which is a very, very reasonable contract. So that's my little 2 cents on the Subban-Miller thing, why Miller got a first and why Subban didn't. But overall, I believe that this trade for the Vancouver Canucks is something that spells the right direction. And it spells the right direction because people were pissed off about the 2020 or the 2021 pick. But the trade basically tells us straight up, the Canucks want to be in the playoffs again. That's the goal. That's the short-term goal within the next 2 years. And they already put the safety on it. The training wheels are on with this trade, because if we don't make the playoffs next year, which is very well a possibility, then we keep the pick from that year. But if we don't make the playoffs next year, in 2020, that will be 5 straight years of missing the playoffs. And if we make that 6 years, if we miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, and the Tampa Bay Lightning get our first round pick in 2021 that is in the lottery, then this team as a whole is a failure. There's no questions asked about that. We shouldn't be in a position where we miss the playoffs 6 years in a row, especially where we have 3 years of Elias Pettersson, 4 years of Besser, and 2 years of Quinn Hughes. This team by that point is not supposed to be out of the playoffs. I'm not saying we contend for the cup, but I'm saying we contend for a wild card. And I'm saying that we should be making the necessary moves to help push us towards the playoffs, especially since our core pieces are now there. J.T. Miller is an addition that does just that, and the first round pick in either 2020 or 2021 is security that enforces that idea, saying that we are making the playoffs. Sure, we could draft a really good player with either one of the 2020 or the 2021 firsts, but that player that we draft in 2020 or 2021 will not be available in the NHL foreseeably until 2023 or 2024, 2025 even. And by that time, Bo Horvat is going to be in his late 20s, almost 30s, and this young guy who was drafted in 2020 or 2021 is going to be in his very, very early 20s as a rookie. I think that if the Vancouver Canucks want to contend for the playoffs and they want to do things in the playoffs, a player like J.T. Miller, who is 2 years older than Bo Horvat, helps now. And he helps 2 years from now, and he helps 3 years from now, and 4 years from now. A player who's drafted in 2020, 2021 is not going to help in that time frame. Sure, that guy is going to hit his prime when Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser hit their primes. And sure, you never want to see the Vancouver Canucks give up straight-up elite assets, but the Vancouver Canucks are going to have other draft picks still. It's not like the team is supposed to be terrible for the next 2 years, and if the team is bad next year, then great, we keep our first. But the Vancouver Canucks need to be trying to make the playoffs, especially with the core that they've built and all of these years of being held back. So that's my little response to the J.T. Miller thing. Everybody's been pissed off about it. It's been bugging me. It's been in my chest for a little bit. I know my video was very not well informed, and it was very premature too. It was just right off the bat, when I saw the trade being made, I was like, oh yeah, we got ourselves a good, strong player who can help us for the next few years, and even though we gave up a first, we're getting value back, and that's the way I saw it, which is why I was kind of all giddy and happy about it. So this is a response to that. Sure, we overpaid. You can say that for sure. And if you want to be pissed off about that, you can be. I'm not going to stop you. But I'm not. And this video explains why. Oh man, that was good to get off the chest. Now, you know what? I'm gonna do myself a favor here and just promote a little bit of the stuff that I'm going to be doing. I'll have myself a full Canucks draft overview coming out either today or tomorrow. I'm not really too sure when I want to release that, but I also really want to talk about other prospects from other teams, specifically Detroit. They did some really interesting things, and I was very intrigued by them. Montreal has some great prospects. Also, they're my number 2 team, so I have to get on their train. The Leafs had some really nice pickups as well, so I'm also going to try to cover some of those picks. I don't know if I'll do a full draft overview of some of those other teams, but it would certainly be in the realm of possibility. And overall, if you haven't already checked out the other draft videos that I made for different Vancouver Canucks prospects that we drafted in this draft, honestly, I'm very, very happy looking at the guys that we were able to get. Obviously, Höglander and Kepin, I believe, are absolute steals. Podkolzin can be a steal, and this is just a very interesting look of players to look at. So that's just my little 2 cents on everything. Check it all out if you haven't already. This video here was about JT Miller and the trade. Hope you enjoyed this video. Social 99, and bye.